Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and we have our very first Hammond Collection figure here to take a look at, as we have the Baryonyx. This is the initial entry into the line. This, of course, along with the Parasaurolophus, were the very first two that were kind of unveiled to us, and we also have a few human figures and another Velociraptor, a JP-style Velociraptor, to get a hold of very soon and review for you guys. But again, this is the very first one that I have been able to acquire. You've got like a really nice window look. Again, the Hammond Collection logo right there. Beautiful T-Rex skull and arms silhouette. We also have the Baryonyx name. And then if we turn the box around, you can now see kind of a sneak peek of the figure right here, as well as an image of it from Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and then some information right here, kind of explaining the scene to us where the Baryonyx is initially introduced. So I would assume that this is meant to be that exact Baryonyx, since that's the scene that it's describing. So really excited to finally have a chance to check out one of these Hammond Collection figures. They've been hyping us up for a few months now, I would say, with this line, so I can't wait to dive into this one right now. So let's pop it open and check it out. So here is our Baryonyx, and obviously it's not in a very good position right now, but initial thoughts, having taken it out of the packaging, it looks pretty darn nice. I will definitely say that. Get it maybe a little bit of a nicer position. First of all, the balance is super nice on this. Like, that has absolutely no stability issues whatsoever. It is very, very stable. The articulation seems pretty smooth. Definitely pretty nicely done. We've got some really nice articulation in the neck. It would have been nice to have like maybe some other small joint here in the middle of the neck, just for a little bit, more neck articulation, but that's just a very minor nitpick. All of the articulation seems to be really smooth. We've got a wire tail as well. And detail-wise, it definitely looks good. The paint also looks pretty darn good. So let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Baryonyx, it definitely looks really, really nice detail-wise. I can see the scale detail and everything looks very nice here in the face. Really nicely showing it off here in the lower jaw. You can see quite a bit of different varying sizes of scales. Really beautiful paintwork, as well as we have this very nice darker blue that kind of runs up here into the face, and you can see a really nice, very natural transition to this gray that we have for a lot of the face, from like the snout down to the lower jaw. You can also see some beautiful, lighter blues right there, kind of underneath the eye. The eye itself is painted with an orange, nice black pupil. So the paintwork is actually really nicely done. Same deal for the opposing side of the head. As far as replicating that Jurassic World style Baryonyx, I feel like Mattel definitely did a very good job overall on how nice the sculpt looks as far as, screen accuracy goes. You can see the teeth there sticking out of the mouth as we have the mouth closed. We can open the mouth. It doesn't go super wide, not quite as wide as you would see on most Mattel figures, but that's because this is meant obviously more for the adult collector, so it's going to be, a little bit more realistic rather than over-exaggerated like you often see on a lot of different Mattel figures. You can see that on the inside of the mouth we have a really nice, very realistic tone of color, and although the shadow's kind of overtaking it, the tongue has a gorgeous textured appearance to it and a really nice gloss coat. You can also see the teeth there on the lower jaw are all very nicely sculpted, pretty nicely painted. Only a tiny, tiny bit of sloppiness for the most part is really nicely done. You also have some beautiful detailing there on the upper jaw. One thing I noticed on this one that was on the Amber Collection figures that's not on this would be like some kind of like a reddish wash that you would often see on the inside of the mouth. I don't see that on this one, so it's kind of a little bit of a downgrade as far as the inside of the mouth paintwork goes, because we have a little bit less to it, but it still looks really good for what it is. You can see the nostrils sculpted out there on the tip of the snout. As we move back here into the neck region, you can see more really nice scale detail here running along the course of the neck. We start out with that kind of osteoderm-like look here, that armored type of a look, running along the spinal column of the Baryonyx, which definitely looks really nice. You can see as we move this up, the detail doesn't cease as you move this around. You can see that the detailing continues, and it looks really good through the course of the neck of the Baryonyx, kind of like some tensing and stuff in the neck. You can also see the throat here on the underside. We do have an alternate tone of color, but unfortunately you can see it picks up here in the throat. It would have been nice to see this kind of coloration here on the underside of the lower jaw, and you can also see that it ends here in the groin area, of course, because even on these more adult-based figures, we don't get the coloration here on the underside to run the entire length of the tail. That would just, I guess, be a travesty. But we can see that we do have coloration here running all the way out onto the tail on the upper side, which is a gigantic plus compared to many other figures. As you move down into the body, you can continue to see how nice the detailing is. I will say that I feel like the detailing almost isn't quite as vibrant as what you see on the main Mattel line. Like, it looks really good, but it just doesn't pop off of the sculpt like you see on the main Mattel line. As you move back here into the stomach region, you can kind of see the rib cage and everything displayed there. Again, some nice varying sizes of scales. You have some nice skin detail moving down into the arm. You can kind of make out some muscle definition. As you move down into the hands, the fingers are nicely sculpted. We also have some beautifully painted nails, and they also have a very nice gloss coat. They're kind of painted with like a very dark brown, it looks like. And that gloss coat really makes them shine. And man, figures from Mattel just look so much better when we do have nail paint. A world of difference. You can see that again, we also have that darker coloration up here on the top of the dinosaur, but you start to have kind of like that off-white outline that starts here in the mid area of the neck and continues to run down the course of the body. As you can see, kind of like just designs and stripes down into the lower part of the body here and there. Again, more rows of those osteoderms running along the back of the dinosaur, creating that very nice armored appearance. You can also see like that, row running down the center of the spinal column. You move down here into the thigh, you can see more of that darker coloration running down here into the thigh. Again, the outlining also looks really nice. Some of it up here in the tail doesn't look all that natural, but I will say like right here it does look really good. The muscle definition is nicely displayed, as well as some more incredible skin texture moving down the course of the leg. We have a really nice big bulging calf muscle. Again, moving down into the foot, you've got some scoots down the toes. The foot overall does look really nice, and you also have some nicely painted nails here, and again a nice gloss coat, but no paint for the dew claw. What is with Mattel absolutely hating the dew claws of their figures? They just refuse to acknowledge that claw exists back there as far as paintwork goes. They always sculpt it in, but never give it paintwork. And then as you see, you can run out here into the tail. Again, more really nice scale detail, and you've also got some more of that kind of outlining running along the darker coloration. And right here is where it kind of looks more like paint on a figure rather than natural coloration, and definitely looks like it's just kind of splotched there. It's not bad, but it doesn't look great either. You can see that that outlining tapers off, and now we're back to just the gray and the darker bluish coloration up here on the top of the tail, but the detailing continues to look really nice. Really nice here on the underside, almost kind of crocodilian as we run along the underside, but of course we don't have that coloration there. Of course, you're going to see pretty much the same thing over here on this side as what you had just seen on the initial side, because this is a fully posable, really articulated figure, so you're not going to really see any kind of a difference, because like with most Mattel figures, like one leg will be back further, one leg will be forward, something like that. That's not the case. This is a totally neutral position for the figure, and then it's up to you to display it and articulate it how you would like. So you're really not going to see much difference. I'm just going to kind of run through it, make sure all the paintwork and everything looks good over here like it did on the initial side. You can see it looks a little better as far as the outline goes on this side of the tail compared to what we saw on the initial side, but it definitely looks really good, pretty nice looking overall as far as the paintwork goes. Yeah, I would say it's a really nice looking paint job for the Baryonyx. Of course, there's always a little room for improvement, but it's far better than anything we get in the main line of the Jurassic World figures, and at $20, this is honestly a steal of a figure. As far as articulation, again, we do have the articulation in the jaw. The upper jaw has some slight articulation, as does the lower jaw. It doesn't really articulate too much, but you can get a nice open mouth position. We also have the articulation right here in the neck, which can move around pretty nicely up, down, left, right, quite a bit there. We also have the articulation down here at the base of the neck, which can totally swivel if you choose to break the neck of your Baryonyx. And then you can also move the arms here in the shoulders as well as the elbow. Nothing is stiff on this at all. It's all really smooth. You can also swivel that, so you can break the arm as well if you choose to. And then again, out away from the body if you want your Baryonyx to believe it can fly. And then you also have articulation in the hips as well as the knees. All of it is really quite smooth. And then you also have two joints down here. As you can move it right here, it can also swivel. And then again, down here at the bottom, leading into the foot, Can also go up, down, quite a bit of articulation there. And then you can move the tail around, up, down, left, right, can also swivel, but it's really stiff as far as the swiveling goes. But it's also a bendable wire for the tail, so you can pose the tail like you would like. Similar again to the Amber Collection, just like the Amber Collection, I would say. And again, the figure does stand shockingly really nice as far as its balance goes. So that is a plus. Definitely a really, really stable figure. So you'll be able to create pretty much dozens of different, display options for your Baryonyx, really creating some awesome poses and scenes you could pull off. As far as a size goes, we're going to get the tail and everything straight out. We're going to get a pretty good length on our Baryonyx. For a length, you are looking at about the 13.5 inches, maybe, not quite, a little bit under, so in between, actually more like 13.25 inches, I would say, or around the 34 centimeter area. And then for a height, it's kind of like crouched right now, so you can really, this is up to you. You can display it up as upright as you would like, but for the positioning it's in currently, it's just shy of 4.75 inches, or around the 12 centimeter range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, as well as Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, next to our Hammond Collection Baryonyx, and you can definitely get a pretty good idea, I think, as far as the size goes with these figures in comparison. You can definitely tell that although it's not huge, it does still sport a pretty good size overall. And then a comparison that I feel like is definitely an important one, we have the Hammond Collection Baryonyx in comparison to one of the mainline Baryonyx from Mattel, and you can definitely get a good idea of the size. You can clearly see that the Hammond Collection Baryonyx is a bit smaller than your average Jurassic World Baryonyx, and also obviously very different in the sculpt. You can see a lot of differences, but I really love the regular mainline Baryonyx from Mattel, and I definitely really like this Hammond Collection version. You can see a much better tail length on the Hammond Collection version, that is definitely for sure, and a much better paint job as well. Then a shot from up above as far as the Hammond Collection version goes to a more mainline Baryonyx to kind of give you an idea of the length. And then if we come down here and we kind of have them next to each other, again, you can get another idea as far as a size goes. Trying to give you basically a view from every side, because I'm sure if you are interested in the Hammond Collection Baryonyx, you probably have, or at least have seen one of the mainline Baryonyx figures. So having an idea of how they size up to each other would definitely, I think, help figure out, again, roughly what the size of the newer version, the Hammond Collection version, is. Then we've also got ourselves the Extreme Damage Velociraptor that has recently come out. So again, if you are interested as far as the size goes to one of your mainline Velociraptor figures, that should definitely help. As well as one of the Dilophosaurus, one of the cooler looking Dilophosaurus that Mattel has released, again giving you a rough idea of the size. And then one more final figure as far as a Mattel comparison goes, one that we've been using quite often as far as comparisons go. We've got the Bumpy, the adult version here next to our Baryonyx, again showing you the fact that the Baryonyx isn't huge, but definitely still sports a pretty nice size. So I will say this Hammond Collection Baryonyx is definitely a beautiful figure, and in my opinion, a step up from the Amber Collection. The Amber Collection was awesome. I loved a lot of the figures, but it did get a little bit stale because we mostly just continued to get Velociraptors. I think that's probably due to the fact that making larger figures and everything would be a little bit tough, and larger species and everything, but with this newest, Hammond Collection line, the possibilities are endless, I think, so we can get pretty much any and every species that we could dream of in the Hammond Collection, and that is very exciting if you ask me. And this figure, again, is definitely a really nice entry into this line, immediately kind of jumping the line straight off of the ground and showing us that they're going to create awesome species that aren't just Velociraptors with it. And this Baryonyx, I think, was a really nice choice. The sculpt is fantastic, honestly. It is really nicely done. The only, slight downside, I would say, is that some of the detail isn't quite as crisp as you see on some of the mainline figures, but it's still really nicely done. That's not me trying to badmouth the detail and tell you that it's not nice, because honestly, it is gorgeous. The sculpt is fantastic and definitely very, very highly detailed. but I just feel like some of the detail on the main figures is a little bit more crisp than what we see here. Not by much, just barely. This figure, though, looks really good, and one thing that I'm noticing on it that looks really neat is the fact that we kind of have like some scars, sort of, or like injuries and stuff here and there on the figure, and that's something you don't often see on the main line. You also have some incredible balance on the figure, as you can pretty much make it display any way you would like, and it balances beautifully without having super large feet. The feet do look obviously a bit oversized, but not that bad compared to many Mattel releases, so that is a plus. The proportions, I feel like, are a lot better on this one than you see on a lot of Mattel figures. And the paintwork, of course, is a drastic improvement over anything in the main Mattel line, because you do have paint that runs all the way out onto the tail. This is a figure that you could see that they actually took some care with as far as the paintwork goes, and you have like the really nicely painted nails and some paintwork to the underside. The fact that the paint doesn't run the entire underside is the only real downside, I think, to the paintwork of the figure. Aside from one area on the tail where it looks a little bit more like paint rather than body color, the only downside that I can say as far as the paintwork would be the fact that we don't have color running the entire underneath of the figure. One thing that I can tell Mattel that would really improve these figures and go from making them look like almost like a toy type figure to looking more like a collectible, similar to like a NECA figure, would be if they gave them dark washes. Even really subtle dark washes to kind of highlight the detail could amp up the realism of these figures by a mile. So if, for some reason, Mattel happened to watch this review, which I don't expect to happen, and they're looking for an idea on how to potentially improve these figures, applying dark washes really could amp up the realism, I think, of these figures. It doesn't have to be a super dark wash or anything that would ruin the detail, but just somewhat of a wash on it, just a slightly darker wash of like a dark gray or something, really could make this look beautiful. But again, as a whole, this is a fantastic release from Mattel. A gorgeous looking sculpt, beautiful paint job with loads of incredible articulation and some insanely good balance. So if you are interested in this, make sure you head to your local Target, or you can order this online. I believe once the pre-order actually goes through and they start to stock them online soon, you should be able to order it. I will include a link to this on the Target website. It does still state currently, again, that it's a pre-order and it's not officially available, or at least it does as of me recording this. So by the time it posts, maybe it won't say that, and you'll be able to order it. But again, check the link in the description to where you can check this out on the Target website or buy it in store at Target. And happy Jurassic World Dominion toy release day, guys, because today is the day that the toy line officially drops. So hopefully you're all having some incredibly good luck when it comes to picking up the new Jurassic World Dominion toys. Unfortunately, my Target is closed for Easter, but you know, that's just the way it is, I guess. So Target will have to wait until tomorrow, but Walmart at least has their stuff out, I hope. Either way, we're getting off track. Great Baryonyx, awesome release. Can't wait to see what else the Hammond Collection will give us in the future. So make sure you pick this up, and make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.